Hello kids, so we'll start the session now. Today we'll be revising some basic concepts of chemistry. So it's not anyways possible to cover all the topics, so we'll be very specific in doing, in terms of need point of view, we'll be trying to cover the most important topics. First, let us try to know what are the topics that we have to cover. Okay, so we'll start with this chapter now. The topics what we have to cover, I'll also give the important formulas here itself, and then we'll go for problem solving session. Okay, so first thing is it's very important for us to know some important prefixes which are used in the SI system. Okay, so I'll not be discussing all the important prefixes, but the most important ones, that is 10 to the power minus 12, it will be as pico. 10 to the power minus 9 will be as nano. 10 to the power minus 6 is micro. 10 to the power minus 3 will be as milli. 10 to the power minus 2 is centi. 10 to the power minus 1 is deci. Then 10 to the power 3 is kilo. 10 to the power 6 is mega. So these are the most important ones that we have. And we also know another one that will be as 10 to the power of minus 10. That will be as in terms of angstroms. Even that is also important. So these are the important prefixes that we'll be using in the SI system. Moreover, when we solve problems in solid state, we'll be coming across terms like this pico, angstrom. So that plays a major role in conversions. Here itself, we'll be having density. So density will be as mass by volume. And we have temperature relationships. So these temperature relationships, it is Kelvin scale. And how is Kelvin scale related to the degrees Celsius scale? It will be with this 273.15. And degrees Fahrenheit, it will be as 9 by 5 times of degrees centigrade plus 32. See, significant figures is a topic that is being discussed in physics in more detail. So I'll not be discussing that in detail here. And coming to the laws of chemical combinations, we have 5 laws. That is law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportions, law of multiple proportions, Gay-Lussac's law, and even Avogadro's law. So these are the laws that you would have already read. See, we'll be focusing mostly the important things that we have it in terms of need point of view. So I'll also give you all the important formulas. So I'll just move ahead with the next one. Don't worry, at the end I'll show you all the slides again. Okay, so what is this relative atomic mass? See, relative atomic mass is given by mass of one atom of an element and dividing it by 1/12 the mass of one carbon atom. Actually, that is carbon 12 atom, right? So this is how we have it. Now, how is mole related to mass? How is mole related to number of atoms? How is mole also related to volume? This is what we have to see now. So mole will be related to mass if we are multiplying with molecular weight or we are multiplying with atomic weight. And mass will be related to this mole. If I want to convert the mass, given mass to this moles, I have to divide it with molecular weight or divided with atomic weight. If it's an atom given, I have to consider atomic weight. If it's a molecule given there, I have to consider the molecular weight over there. Now, moving ahead, how is mole related to number? See here, the number means either they have asked us number of atoms or number of molecules. So if at all in the question, they have already given us a value in terms of mole and I have to convert it in terms of number, then I have to multiply with the factor that is Avogadro's number. And if at all the number has to be converted into moles, I have to divide it with Avogadro's number. Now same way, if at all mole is to be related to volume at STP, so how to do this? So if mole is to be converted into volume, I have to multiply with the factor of 22.4 liters. And similarly, if volume at STP is to convert it into this mole, we have to divide it with 22.4 liters. So this is how we'll be proceeding. Now coming for the calculations. Okay, I'll just give you some seconds so that you can just note it down and then we'll move ahead. Okay, so these are the important formulas that we have. Now moving ahead, it will be percentage composition. So what is this percentage composition? See, if at all we have to calculate mass percentage of an element, it will be given by mass of that element, which is the given mass, and then dividing it by molar mass. And this has to be multiplied with 100 as they have asked us to calculate the mass percentage. So here itself, I want to discuss the three terms that will be as weight by weight percentage. So weight by weight percentage means it will be as mass of solute and dividing it by mass of solution. Remember, this will also be in terms of grams. This will also be in terms of grams. So in 200, this will be as weight by weight percentage. Similarly, if they have given us to calculate weight by volume percentage, then we have to take it as mass of solute. That will be in terms of grams. And here V is the volume of solution. This has to be in terms of ml. So be careful with what they have asked in the question. They have asked weight by volume. So I have to take mass of the solute in grams and volume of the solution in ml into 100. And the third one, it is volume by volume percentage. If it is volume by volume percentage, I have to take it as volume of solute in ml. And here we have to take it as volume of solution in ml. So these are the three, these are basically something that we have to study under concentration terms. But as we have talked about the percentage composition, it's better to cover here itself. So here we'll be having, so the term itself will be give you that it's weight by weight means numerator should also be having something in terms of mass. Even the denominator should be also having in terms of mass. Weight by volume, so it's mass of solute in grams, and volume of solution will be in terms of ml. So this is how we'll be doing the calculations. I'll move ahead with the next one. Okay, today we'll be doing numericals, mostly based on this empirical formula. See, firstly, I'm giving you all the important formulas, and then at the end, we'll be doing all the problems. So we'll be doing majorly questions based on empirical formula, limiting reagent, and all the concentration terms. That is like molarity, molality, then normality. So all these are the major ones that we'll try to cover. Okay, so empirical formula. See, empirical formula, it is the simplest whole number ratio of the number of atoms, the various elements that be present in the compound. Whereas molecular formula, it shows us the exact number of atoms that be present in that molecule. So example, if I'm taking, okay, you have to answer this. So empirical formula of glucose will be what? Guys, you have to type this. And similarly, you can also type what will be the molecular formula of glucose. Good. See, empirical formula, it is, yeah, I'll just answer your question. So empirical formula, see, it is the simplest whole number ratio. So when you are talking about that, it should be simply as CH2O. Again, I'll not show it as multiplying this with a factor of 6. So you should not show it with the multiplying it with the factor of 6. So it will be simply as CH2O, that will be as my empirical formula. And molecular formula here will be as C6H12O6. So this is how I'll be having my molecular formula for glucose. Because molecular formula will be giving us the exact information of the number of atoms that will be present in a molecule of compound. So how are these two related? So this one is important. It is the molecular mass, which will be N into the empirical formula mass. In this case, we know that the N factor is 6. So empirical formula was supposed to be CH2O. And then if we are multiplying 6, we are finally getting a molecular mass. So that's how we'll be getting it. So this is how we have to do it in terms of empirical formula. And what is a limiting reagent is? It is the reactant that will be entirely consumed when a reaction goes to completion. So here we also have another important calculation that is based on stoichiometric calculations. So we have to relate mole-mole concept, then how is mass related to mass related with volume, volume related to volume. So these problems, while doing problems, will be coming across that. First, let us take down all the formulas. So here it will be as calculation involving percentage yield. So how to calculate the percentage yield? It is the actual yield given in the question, dividing it by the theoretical yield in 200. So by using this, we'll be calculating the percentage yield. Okay, now moving, okay, at the end, I'll again show you all the slides. So if at all you have missed anything, you can take a screenshot or you can write it down. Now the most important one, that is the methods of expressing concentrations. So what are the methods of expressing these concentrations? We have already discussed one, that was weight by weight percentage, weight by volume, volume by volume percentages. That is already something we have already discussed that. So the second one, that is mole fraction. Okay, so what is this mole fraction? See, if at all a particular solution we have taken, in that, let it be the solute I'm representing with A and solvent, let it be represented with B. So if at all we are calculating the mole fraction of solute A, then it will be as number of moles of A dividing it by total number of moles. It means this is what total number of moles of this solute plus solvent. That is basically what? It is the number of moles of the solution. Directly we can consider that. And that will be given by Na by Na plus Nb. If at all we are considering it to be as a binary solution, this is how we'll be having it. So we can, yeah, in case of binary solution, we'll find that Xa, which is the mole fraction of A plus mole fraction of B, should be equals to 1. But if at all it goes for ternary solution, still it will be as Xa plus Xb plus Xc. Still the value is supposed to be as 1. So the overall mole fraction is nowhere going to exceed more than 1. whatever be the number of components, overall the mole fraction should be always equal to 1 and not more than that. I'll just move to the other slide. Okay, here we also have calculations based on parts per million. So parts per million of a particular component A. So if we are calculating for this, it will be as mass of the substance A dividing it by mass of solution into 10 to the power of 6. So this is what is a major factor when we are taking it as parts per million. So this million means here I have to take it with a factor of 10 to the power of 6. Similarly, if the question is parts per million, no. Okay, the one who has asked that whether it will be mole fraction is always equals to 1 for binary solution, no. If at all the solution is consisting just two components, one to be a solute, one to be a solution, then definitely XA plus XB will be as 1. But if at all it is having two solutes and one solvent, still it will be as 1. So XA plus XB plus XC, that will be equal to 1. So it need not be just two components and then becoming 1. So this is how we have it in terms of parts per million. Next ones, these are very important: molarity, molality, and normality. So these three are the most important ones. So molarity will be given by number of moles of solute by volume of solution in liters. We can simply write it as weight by molecular weight into 1000 by volume of solution if we are taking in ml. So be careful with the units here. And similarly, again, it is weight by molecular weight into 1 by volume of solution in liters. So if we have taken in directly in liters, again, I need not multiply with the factor of 1000. So this is how we'll be using formula for calculating molarity. Next one, that is molality. So in this molality, we represent it with small m. Here it is number of moles of solute dividing it by mass of solvent, that too in kgs. So here is the difference with molarity. The molarity, it was the volume of solution in liters, whereas molality is mass of the solvent in kg. So here we'll be taking it as weight by molecular weight into 1000 by mass of solvent in grams. Whereas here itself, it will be also, we can also write this as weight by molecular weight into 1 by mass of solvent, if at all it is given in terms of kg. So this is how we'll be having it. Okay, always remember, okay, the ones who have asked that which one is temperature dependent. Yeah. See, temperature dependence is something that we'll be having in terms of volume of the solution. So that is a factor we are able to see in molarity. So molarity will be something which is temperature dependent, but not this molality or mole fractions. So these are not the ones which will be temperature dependent. Rather, it is molarity that is temperature dependent. Now coming to the next one, that will be as normality. Normality is given by number of gram equivalents weight of the solute by the volume of solution in liters. So in this, we'll be having it as weight by gram equivalent weight into 1000 by volume of solution in ml. So if we have taken the volume of solution in ml, then we have to also consider the factor of 1000 over here. So now we have to know how to calculate this gram equivalent weight. So shall I move to the next slide? Okay. So the next one. So how to calculate this gram equivalent weight? See, this gram equivalent weight will be calculated differently for different substances. So if at all I'm doing it for elements. So for elements, this gram equivalent weight is calculated by atomic weight by the valency factor. Whatever is the valency that we'll be having, we'll be calculating for that. Next, if at all we are considering this case for an acid or a base, so this gram equivalent weight is given by molecular weight by basicity is the factor for acid, or acidity is the factor for base. So basicity here means the number of ionizable H plus, whereas acidity means the number of ionizable hydroxides. Whereas for oxidizing agents or reducing agents, we'll be calculating this gram equivalent weight in terms of mole. This again, it will be as molecular mass or molar mass, dividing it by number of electrons gained or lost. So for this, we should really have an idea about what is the reducing or the oxidizing agent they have given and what is the change in oxidation state that is occurring. So here, what is the relation between normality and molarity? So normality will be n times, this is the n factor into molarity. See here itself, again, we can also talk about how to calculate GeW for salts. So for salts, we'll be calculating its gram equivalent weight. That will be molar mass by charge of cation or charge of anion. It should be only one. So it will be like the total number of charges of cation or total charge that will be present on the anion. It should be either of them that we have to consider for salts for the calculation of this factor of N. So the next one, dilution law. This one is also very important. See, rather than going for M1V1 equals to M2V2, it is always preferable to go with N1V1 is equals to N2V2. Because eventually, if you are using that M1V1, that is monoacidic base, or the other one to be as monobasic acid, ultimately it might be equal to that. But if at all one is given to you as a dibasic acid and the other one is monobasic one, so again it creates a problem there. You will not be getting the correct answer for that. So N1V1 should be equals to N2V2. It's always preferable to use this, or else N1 M1V1 is equals to N2 M2V2. It means we are multiplying our molarity with the factor of N. But one more thing here itself, if they have asked you that what will be the molarity, what is the molarity to be calculated, then you should not use this. Then directly I will use it as M1V1 is equals to M2V2. As they have given you particular molarity and they have asked you that after dilution, what will be the molarity of the other substance. Then I'll directly take it as M1V1 is equals to M2V2. That's how we'll be proceeding. So if at all we do have a mixture that will be containing, so normality of the mixture which contains only acids or only bases. So for that it will be as NRVR, that is the resultant normality and resultant volume will be given by summation of all NVs of acids. Like if at all it's fully acids, I have to keep on adding. It will be simply as like N1V1 plus N2V2 keeps on continuing for how many components we have. So it will be this way. So this is the formula that we have to use if at all we are calculating the normality of a mixture containing acids or bases. It's solely fully as acids or solely fully as bases. For that we'll be using this. But if at all we want to calculate normality of mixture containing acids and bases. So if at all it should be a mixture of these, then we have to take care, that is the resultant normality into volume will be given by summation of NB of acids minus summation of NB of base. Here, one more point that we have to keep it in our mind is, it need not be always summation of NB of acids minus summation of NB of bases. It can also be as summation of NB of bases minus summation of NB of these acids. So it totally depends, whichever number you will be finding it greater, that will be coming first, because we have to make sure that it is not going for a negative value. So that is what is to be considered. But remember, acids and bases anyways, they won't add up. You have to subtract it. Okay, so moving ahead, how to calculate, okay, last few more formulas and then we'll go with the numericals. Average or mean atomic mass. So average atomic mass, it will be as F1, M1, F2, M2, just continues till N. So here what it means is, here F is showing us the fractional abundance. That what is the percentage or what is the amount that is present there. So that will be the fractional abundance. And X1 will be as, if you are considering this to be as F1, this will be as X. So it will be the atomic weight of the isotope. So it's mostly done for the different isotopes of the element. So we'll be doing it this way. We have to keep on adding it up. See, fractional abundance means if at all it's directly given in fractions, I'll be using this. But if they have given in terms of percentages, we'll be taking all these values and then dividing it by 100. So that's how we'll be proceeding with numericals. Now, how is molecular mass related with vapor density? So molecular mass is 2 into vapor density. Now the question for you all, how many, here if I have taken 3 molar sulfuric acid solution, this will be equal to what normal of sulfuric acid? Try to answer this. 3 molar sulfuric acid solution is equals to how many normal sulfuric acid? Yes, normality is temperature dependent. Most of you should be answering this. Yes, normality. So what will be the normal? It's very few who have answered. Three by two, 3. Guys, I think you should listen to the question properly. I have asked you, what will be the normality? I'm getting mixed answers now. Okay, I think we should continue. We don't have much time. So here the answer will be as 6. Yeah, most of you have answered it correctly. It will be as 6. And how is it going to be 6? Yeah, most of you have answered it correctly. See here, if at all I want to convert this in terms of normality. So normality is N into M. N factor here, as it is a dibasic acid, I'll take the N factor to be as 2. So 2 into molarity is taken as 3. So I have got it as 6. So here this is how we'll be proceeding. So 3 molar sulfuric acid solution is equal to 6 normal sulfuric acid solution. This is a very important sort of question, as they prefer to ask you these questions based on all the oxo acids of phosphorus, like whether it is supposed to be as phosphoric acid, phosphorus acid, what is the N factor there. So in terms of N factor, what will be the molarity or what will be the normality? So this is a very important sort of question that we'll be having based on this chapter. Okay, now the last slide that we'll be using for formulas, and after that we'll be going for questions. What is the relation? So these are the direct formulas for giving us the relation between molarity and molality. Okay, molality I'll represent with small m and molarity with capital M. So this small m, that is molality, will be given by molarity into 1000 by density of the solution into 1000 minus m into m prime. Okay, my m prime here is molar mass of solute. Okay, so these are the direct relationship between the molarity and molality. So capital M is molarity here, D is the density of solution. Remaining all the terms are clear. Next one, what is the relation between molality and mole fraction? So small m is molality. This should be equals to x2 into 1000 dividing it by x1 into m1. Okay, this x2 is mole fraction of solute, whereas this x1 will be as mole fraction of solute. That will be as the solute and this will be taken as solvent. M1 is the molar mass of solvent. And the last relation, that is molarity and mole fraction. With this, we'll be done with the list of formulas. So here it's capital M. So x2 into density into 1000 dividing it by x1 m1 plus x2 m2. All the terms are already explained. So here this m is molarity, x2 is the mole fraction of solute, d will be the density of solution, x1 is the mole fraction of solvent, m1 will be the molar mass of solvent, x2 is the mole fraction of solute, m2 will be the molar mass of the solute. So I'll just give you a few seconds and then we'll move ahead doing numericals. Guys, make sure you do have some rough sheets or something so that we'll be doing numericals now. You have to solve and give the answer there. Okay, shall we go to the other slide? No. Okay. Yeah, I will be showing you all the slides. I just thought that the last 10 minutes I'll be showing you all the slides. Okay, you have missed any specific slides, so I'll just show you that. If you have missed any specific slide, you just let me know, I'll show you that once. Okay, slide 1. Okay, I'll just keep it for a few seconds. All the slides. Guys, we should do some numericals. Oh, now everyone is, okay, being very specific. Slide 5. Okay. Okay, fine. We'll move ahead. So this is an important sort of question. That is, we have to calculate the number of atoms in 0.1 mole of a triatomic gas. I'm not going to provide you any options over here. Number of atoms that be present in 0.1 moles of a triatomic gas. Okay, I'll give you the Avogadro's number. You can just take it as 6 into 10 to the power of 23. You can just take it this way, per mole. Yeah. Now calculate this. I think from already I have given you this relation. You can just try to use this. What have they asked? They have asked us the number of atoms and from the moles that they have given. So now from this, it should be clear what we are supposed to be doing. So if you have understood this properly, you'll get the answer correctly. Okay. Okay, so most of you have got it. If you have got it correct, if you have got it wrong. Okay, so I'll discuss the answer now. Good that most of you are trying here. See, number of atoms. I have to calculate the number of atoms and they have given me the number of moles. I told you if they have given us number of moles, we have to convert it into number of atoms or molecule. We have to multiply with the factor of Na. So that is Avogadro's number. I have to multiply with number of moles. But please take care of this too. What we have to do is, as it is a triatomic one, triatomic gas, that is Na into this number of moles, we also have to multiply with a factor of 3. It's triatomic. What you have done this is for just one, it's like monoatomic gas. But they have given us triatomic, so we have to also take care of that. And hence it is also to be multiplied with a factor of 3. So that is 6 into 10 to the power of 23 into 0.1 into 3. So 6 into 3, that will be as 18. But as we do have this 0.1, so it will be as 1.8 into 10 to the power of 23. So this will be your answer. Yeah, so the next one. Next question for you. The number of atoms in 4.25 grams of ammonia. Calculate the number of atoms in 4.25 grams of ammonia. Okay, atomic weight of nitrogen will be as 14 grams per mole. This is for nitrogen. For hydrogen, it is as 1 gram per mole. The question is number of atoms. So be careful what you are calculating. Okay, so what have you answered? Okay, so most of you have answered that. Na is 3. Okay. Most of you have got the answer differently. Okay, yeah. So I'll just answer now. (69) multiplied by, okay. See here. See in this, the number of atoms, first of all, the number of molecules. So if at all I'm calculating the number of molecules in this 4.25 grams of ammonia. So this will be as 4.25 dividing it by 17 into, because they have given us, first we have to convert it into moles. So that will be weight by molecular weight, that is 17, and here 6 into 10 to the power of 23. So this will be something that we'll get it as 0.25, as it will be like 4 times. So 6 into 10 to the power of 23. So if I can simply write it as 25 into 6 into 10 to the power of 22. Now this one, they have asked us to calculate as the number of, okay, 2.5 I have to take. We have to also multiply it with number of atoms they have asked. So I should also multiply this with the factor of 4. So if you just do that, 2.5 into 4 will be what? We'll be just getting it as 10. So if you just get that 10, at the end, I'll just get the answer to be as 6 into 10 to the power of 23. So your answer is that it is directly your Avogadro's number. Yeah. Next question. Okay, why we are multiplying by 4? For the ones who have asked, please take care that whenever they have asked us the number of atoms in a specific molecule, I have to count. See, in ammonia, what is the number of atoms that I have there? Nitrogen 1 and 3 hydrogens. So we also have to multiply with the factor of 4. So the third question, calculate the number of electrons present in 1.6 grams of methane. Calculate the number of electrons present in 1.6 grams of methane. Yeah, you have to calculate the number of electrons. Okay, if you have already started answering, good. Good, most of you are getting the correct answer. Yeah, guys, we have to do other questions also, so we'll just proceed. Yeah, so number of molecules. See, first of all, what I have to take is the number of moles. So that will be as 1.6 by 16 into the Avogadro's number. Let me take it as 6 into 10 to the power of 23. Now, as I have told you that it should be the number of electrons. Till now, what were we doing? We were calculating the number of atoms. See, it's methane. So carbon will be having how many electrons? Carbon will be having 6 electrons, whereas each hydrogen will have 1. But as we have 4 hydrogens, we have to consider it as 4 over here. And finally, I'll be getting it as 10 electrons. So all this has to be again multiplied with the factor of 10. Now here we can see, so this becomes again equals to 6 into 10 to the power of 23. So again we have got the answer to be equal to that of the Avogadro's number. See, it just happened to be that the two answers are same as Avogadro's number, but it need not be. So just take care of the values being given in the question. Don't try to memorize that. Okay, so the next question, a compound has an empirical formula C2H4O, and an independent analysis gave a value of 132.16 for its molecular mass. What is the correct molecular formula? Okay, so you have to do this. Now they have given us the empirical formula to be as C2H4O. It's simply O, nothing there. And the mass that they have given, the molecular mass is supposed to be as 132.16. We have to calculate this molecular formula. We have to derive the molecular formula. Okay, no one has answered this. Guys, try to make it fast. That is definitely not glucose. Okay, so most of you have answered it. Yeah, so here what we have to do is see here carbon. So if at all we are considering the mass of this carbon, that will be as 12 2, so it will be 24 and again plus 4. So and finally you will also be having this 16. So we have got it as 44. So we know that N factor is given by molecular mass by empirical formula mass. So hence we get it as 132.16 dividing it by 44, which will be equals to 3. So hence the formula, molecular formula is C6H12O3. So this is the answer. Definitely this is not glucose. I don't have it as 6 over here. It's simply as C6H12O3. The next question, we'll do a limiting reagent question. 0.5 moles of barium chloride is mixed with 0.5 moles of barium chloride is mixed with 0.2 moles of sodium phosphate. The maximum number of moles of barium phosphate that can be formed is. Okay, so this is a limiting reagent based question. Try to answer this. Okay, I'll give you the options. Okay, guys, here the first step that how we have to proceed is good. Most of you have started answering. So first of all, here stoichiometry plays an important role. So we have to first write the equation here that it is barium chloride plus sodium phosphate will be giving us barium phosphate plus sodium chloride. So this is the stoichiometric equation that you have got. Now you can proceed easily. See, it's 3 moles of barium chloride. Yeah, good. Most of you have got it correct. That is giving us 1 mole of barium phosphate. Yeah, good. Now everyone has got it correct. So here if it is 0.5 mole of barium chloride, what will be the moles of barium phosphate form? So it will be 0.5 by 3. So this will be around 0.166. Whereas if we take 2 moles of sodium phosphate, and that is giving us 1 mole of barium phosphate. So 0.2 moles will give us how much? That will be as 0.1 moles. So definitely my sodium phosphate is the limiting reagent. So if sodium phosphate is the limiting reagent, we know that 2 moles are giving 1 mole of barium phosphate. So 0.2 mole will give us 0.1 mole of barium phosphate. So the answer will be as 0.1. Now coming to the next question, we'll go to molarity based questions. Calculate the molarity. Okay, the ones who didn't get this again. 3 moles of barium chloride plus 2 moles of sodium phosphate is giving us barium phosphate and 6 moles of sodium chloride. So you just take the values here. Here I got it as 0.166. Here I've got it as 0.1, which is less. This one is less. So as this is less, this will be as my limiting reagent. Sodium phosphate is the limiting reagent. And accordingly, the number of moles of product will be formed. So here as 2 moles of sodium phosphate is giving 1 mole of barium phosphate. So 0.2 moles of sodium phosphate will give us 0.1 mole of barium phosphate. The next question, calculate the molality of a solution. Calculate the molality of the solution which contains 36 grams of glucose in 250 grams of water. So which contains 36 grams of glucose in 250 grams of water. This should be quick. Good. Okay, most of you are getting it correct. Yeah. Okay, so here as we know, molality will be given by weight, that is 36. Molecular weight of glucose is 180 into 1000 by, yeah, good. Most of you have got it correct. 1000 by 250. So if you just take this, I'll be getting it as 1. Here it will be as 5. This will be as 1. This will be as 4. So 4 by 5, that will be as 0.8 molal. So this is how we have got this. Now the next question, what is the molality of 1 molar solution of sodium nitrate if its density is 1.25 grams per centimeter cube? Okay, I'm directly giving you the molecular weight of sodium nitrate, that is 85 grams per mole. Now you can proceed. We have to calculate the molality of 1 molar solution of sodium nitrate if its density is 1.25 grams per centimeter cube. And molecular weight of sodium nitrate is given as 85 grams per mole. Okay, most of you have answered. Good. So most of you have got it correct. See, we can directly use that formula which relates molality, or even if you have forgotten that, still we can solve it. So if you are directly taking that formula, you'll be getting the answer similarly, or else you can also go for the other method. So it's better to go use that formula and then get your answer directly, or else what we have to do is, see, as we have given is density, that too it is given in terms of grams per centimeter cube. So we know what is the relation of this mass with volume and density. So if density is 1.25 grams per centimeter cube, that too they have mentioned 1 molar solution, my volume of the solution will be as 1000 centimeter cube. So if that is the case, we'll be taking it as D into V. So we'll get it as 1.25 into 1000. That will be as 1250 grams will be my mass of the solution. But we want mass of solvent, and how to calculate the mass of solvent? That will be as 1250 minus 85. That will be as 1165. If we have got this, it will be very easy for us to calculate, because anyways moles are given, number of moles will be as 1. So it is simply as 1000 by 1165. If we just do that, it will be around 0.85 or 0.86. That's how we'll be getting the answer. Okay, the last one, we'll stop with it. So take down this, calculate the molarity of 30 ml of 0.5 molar sulfuric acid diluted to 500 ml. Calculate the molarity, it's capital M, of 30 ml of 0.5 molar sulfuric acid diluted to 500 ml. This will be the last question for today. Good. So most of you have got it correct. Yes, we'll be using it as M1V1 is equals to M2V2. So here if I calculate this M2, it should be as 30 into 0.5 dividing it by 500. So yes, we'll be getting it as 0.03. So here we need not convert it in terms of normality, as they have asked us to calculate molarity and they have given molarity in the question. Guys, tomorrow for some 5 minutes, we'll discuss first normality based 2 questions and then we'll move ahead with the second chapter. So we'll stop our session here itself for today.